Ancient civilizations left behind secrets only visible from the clouds. Scattered across the globe are massive earthworks, immense patterns carved into the very ground, whose full forms and purposes have been lost for centuries. Why would cultures with no knowledge of flight design intricate shapes that can only be appreciated from the sky? By the end of this journey, you will understand the incredible scale and mystery of 30 of these ancient geo-patterns. We will uncover why a giant spider was etched into a Peruvian desert and what a colossal star in the Kazakh steppe might have meant to its creators. What does our drive to leave a permanent mark on the world say about us? From high above the dry plains of southern Peru, the earth itself transforms into a vast and mysterious canvas. The Nazca Lines stretch across the plateau, a collection of immense geometric shapes and animal figures that have baffled observers for generations. You find a colossal hummingbird with wings outstretched, a curious monkey with a spiraling tail, and a figure known as the astronaut, seemingly waving from a hillside. These designs were not painted on the surface but carved into it, created by the Nazca people between 500 before the Common Era and 500 Common Era. They carefully removed the dark, reddish surface pebbles to expose the lighter-colored soil underneath, a technique that created stark, lasting lines in one of the driest places on Earth. The sheer scale is almost impossible to grasp from the ground. Some of these geoglyphs stretch for over 1,200 feet, their perfect proportions and straight lines defying logic. How did a culture without powered flight design and execute such precise, massive artwork intended only for a viewer in the sky? Archaeologists like Johann Reinhard suggest these were sacred pathways, used in vital rituals to call upon the gods for the most precious resource in this arid landscape, water. Others see connections to celestial bodies, mapping stars and planets on a gigantic scale. The methods used remain a profound puzzle. Did the Nazca use simple grids, scaling up small models with astonishing accuracy? The repetition of certain forms, like massive trapezoids and spirals, hints at a deep ceremonial significance we have yet to fully decipher. While the unusual astronaut figure has fueled theories of ancient visitors from other worlds, most scholars see a representation of a spiritual leader or a deity. The true wonder lies in their enduring legacy. The very climate that made life so challenging here is what preserved these lines, a permanent monument to a community's beliefs and their incredible collective effort to leave a mark that would whisper across the centuries. This drive to etch meaning into the land did not end in South America. Far to the north, in the modern-day United States, an even older and larger effigy lies hidden in the soil. Across the Colorado Desert, the earth reveals another gallery of giants. The Blythe Intaglios are colossal figures scraped into the California landscape, human forms and animals so vast their shapes dissolve into abstraction when you stand beside them. Created centuries ago by the Mojave and Quechan peoples, these geoglyphs were made using the same fundamental technique as the Nazca Lines, carefully removing the dark desert pavement to expose the lighter ground beneath. Yet here in North America, they stand in profound isolation. One figure depicts a human with arms outstretched, another a coiled serpent, and a third a mysterious four-legged creature. Each one measures over 170 feet long, a scale meant not for human eyes at ground level but for something else entirely. Anthropologists believe these immense drawings held deep ritual significance, possibly serving as powerful territorial markers or as central stages for ceremonies, perhaps even rites of passage. Some researchers see a connection to the stars, suggesting the figures map out constellations that were integral to the tribe's worldviews and oral traditions. How did the creators achieve such scale and proportion without ever seeing their work from above? The methods remain a subject of fascination, pointing to the possible use of simple surveying techniques or precise astronomical alignments. For the Mojave people, these are not puzzles but sacred texts written in the earth. They speak of the figures as representations of Mastamho, the creator god, and his teachings, a permanent record of their spiritual connection to this land. The true stories and the specific rituals conducted here, however, have faded with time, leaving us with powerful, silent symbols. These intaglios are a profound reminder of how deeply culture and belief can be woven into the physical world, a testament to a relationship with the environment that viewed the earth itself as a living canvas. From the deserts of the Americas, we cross an ocean to the arid hills of the Middle East, where even older and more numerous patterns await. The deserts of Jordan and Syria hold a different kind of mystery, one written not in lines but in stone circles scattered across the stark landscape. From above, these ancient structures, known simply as the wheels, appear as intricate patterns of rock, some dating back an incredible 8,500 years. They are far older than the pyramids of Egypt, silent remnants of a time when humanity was first settling into agricultural life. A typical wheel features a central hub with spokes radiating outward to a circular rim, all meticulously assembled from the local black basalt rock. Their sizes vary dramatically, with some spanning over 200 feet in diameter, creating a vast geometric presence on the ground. For archaeologists like David Kennedy, who has documented thousands of these formations from the air, their purpose is a compelling puzzle. They may have been tribal gathering places where early desert communities came together for social or spiritual events. Some wheels align precisely with the sunrise on the solstices, suggesting they functioned as massive calendars, marking the passage of seasons for people whose survival depended on understanding the sky. Others are found near ancient burial cairns, hinting at a connection to memorial practices and the honoring of those who passed. The sheer variety in their designs is a story in itself. In one region, a wheel might have only a few spokes, while in another, the pattern is complex and dense. This suggests that different groups, perhaps separated by centuries or by cultural traditions, each left their own unique mark. The Jebel Qurma wheels in Jordan, often associated with final resting sites, imply a sacred landscape where the cycles of life and the heavens were deeply intertwined. Meanwhile, isolated wheels in the Syrian desert might have served as territorial markers or waypoints for nomadic herders. Why were so many built, and what specific beliefs did they represent? The stones do not say. They only confirm that the people of this era possessed a sophisticated knowledge of geometry and a deep desire to impose order and meaning onto their world. Their endurance is a testament to the dry climate and the sheer weight of their collective purpose, a purpose we can only glimpse from the sky. This drive to carve meaning into the earth stretches even further back in time, to the vast and lonely steppes of Central Asia. Far to the north, the remote Ustiyurt plateau of Kazakhstan presents a landscape that seems almost untouched by time. Here, through the modern eye of satellite imagery, another layer of ancient human activity has been revealed. Massive earthworks sprawl across the desolate steppe, forming immense squares, lines, and geometric shapes that stretch for kilometers. These geoglyphs, constructed by piling stones or digging trenches, are completely invisible from the ground, a secret kept by the vast, empty land. Believed to be the work of Iron Age nomadic tribes, possibly the Scythians, these structures pose a profound question. Why would nomadic peoples, who lived by moving with their herds, invest such immense collective effort into creating permanent marks in one of the most inhospitable places on Earth? The scale is staggering. One formation, known as the Effigy Square, is a giant quadrangle with precise diagonal lines crossing its interior, covering an area so large it defies easy explanation from a nomadic context. Another, the Turgay symbol, radiates outwards in a swastika-like pattern, a complex design that required coordinated labor from a large, organized group. Researchers suggest these could have been territorial markers, silently declaring a clan's presence across the empty expanse. Others see them as ritual sites, perhaps for ceremonies connected to sun worship, or even as primitive astronomical observatories. For nomadic tribes, tracking the seasons was a matter of survival, dictating the migration of game and the availability of pasture. Aligning massive earthworks with celestial events would have been a way to literally ground their cosmic knowledge. The true message of these patterns, however, is locked in silence. Were they meant as communications to the gods, a plea for fertility in a harsh land? Or were they a statement of identity and power meant for other tribes traversing the plateau? The very existence of such complex, coordinated projects challenges our traditional view of nomadic societies, suggesting they possessed a sophisticated social structure and a shared system of knowledge that allowed them to conceive and execute visions on a gigantic scale. It is a powerful testament to human ingenuity, the drive to create order and meaning even in the most challenging environments, leaving behind puzzles that only the sky can see. This ancient impulse to reshape the land finds a different, more fluid expression on the other side of the world. High on the Bolivian Altiplano, near the towering peak of the Sajama volcano, lies a landscape marked by a different kind of ambition. Here, an almost unimaginable network of straight lines blankets over 22,000 square kilometers, a web of paths so vast it dwarfs all other known geoglyphs on the planet. Created centuries ago by the Aymara people, these are the Sajama Lines, a breathtaking labyrinth etched into the high desert by scraping away the dark surface soil to reveal the pale earth underneath. Thousands of these paths run for miles in perfectly straight trajectories, intersecting and weaving together to form a colossal geometric tapestry visible only from the air. The sheer scale is humbling. Walking beside a single line, it appears as a faint track, but from above, the true pattern emerges, a masterpiece of precision and planning laid across one of the most challenging environments on Earth. How did a society without modern tools achieve such flawless alignment over such immense, rugged distances? The purpose of this sprawling network remains one of archaeology's great puzzles. Many researchers believe these were sacred pilgrimage routes, guiding travelers between holy sites, ancient villages, and burial towers known as chulpas. The lines often lead directly to these final resting places, suggesting a deep connection to ceremonial practices and the journey of the spirit. Other theories point to practical uses, proposing the lines served as trade corridors or as massive astronomical markers. In the thin, clear air of the Andes, the movements of the sun and stars are exceptionally vivid, and some lines align precisely with the peaks of sacred mountains, integral to the Aymara's worldview. This points to a cosmology where the spiritual and the practical were seamlessly intertwined, where a path used for trade could also be a ritual procession honoring a mountain deity. The endurance of these lines speaks to their profound cultural importance, a permanent inscription of belief and community onto the land itself. What can this immense network teach us about pre-Columbian societies in the Andes? It reveals a people deeply connected to their environment, who organized their world along straight, purposeful lines that linked the living, their ancestors, and the powerful forces of nature. This same creative impulse, the desire to shape the land into meaningful forms, would find a more artistic expression in another part of the Americas, where the earth itself was transformed into a gallery of colossal creatures. The Atacama Desert in Chile holds its own colossal secret under the relentless sun. Here, the Atacama giant stands 119 meters tall, a monumental human figure etched into the arid slopes of Cerro Unitas. This is one of the largest prehistoric humanoid figures anywhere in the world. Created between 1000 and 1400 Common Era, its form was shaped by the same technique seen elsewhere, the careful removal of dark surface stones to reveal a lighter, contrasting earth below. The giant possesses a distinct rectangular head and lines that radiate from its crown, giving it an almost otherworldly appearance. Scholars such as Dr. Persis Clarkson propose this figure likely represented a powerful deity or a spiritual shaman, a being of immense importance to the people who created it. Its extended arms and elaborate headdress could symbolize a connection to the cosmos, a bridge between the earthly realm and the heavens above. Intriguingly, the lines emanating from its head align with specific points on the horizon where the moon rises and sets during its most extreme cycles, known as lunar standstills. This suggests the giant may have served as a massive astronomical calendar, its form a permanent record of celestial knowledge crucial for tracking time in a landscape where survival depended on such understanding. Its strategic position along ancient trade routes adds another layer of meaning. For caravans moving through the stark emptiness, the giant would have been an unmistakable landmark, a territorial marker, and a navigational guide visible for miles. Yet, the site itself offers few material clues, with a notable lack of everyday artifacts found nearby. This absence deepens the mystery, pointing toward a primarily ceremonial role rather than a settlement. The giant does not stand alone. It is the centerpiece of a vast ritual landscape, surrounded by a gallery of smaller geoglyphs depicting llamas, snakes, and intricate geometric patterns. Together, they form a complex sacred space, likely used for ceremonies pleading for the most precious resource in this, the driest place on earth, water, and for the fertility of their herds. Why was this single figure given such overwhelming prominence? Was it a divine guardian watching over travelers, a celestial clock for marking sacred time, or a powerful statement of identity meant to inspire awe in all who passed? Its silent presence encapsulates a community's deepest hopes and their sophisticated understanding of their world, a message written in the earth meant to endure. This human drive to shape the land into massive, meaningful forms finds a different, perhaps more communal, expression far from the deserts of South America. The rolling hills of the American Midwest hold a secret that unfolds only from the air. Across this vast landscape, the earth itself rises into the forms of colossal birds, lumbering bears, and sinuous serpents. These are the effigy mounds, monumental earthworks constructed by Native American cultures like the Hopewell and Mississippian peoples over 2,000 years ago. Unlike the desert lines scraped into the surface, these were built up layer by layer with soil and stone, creating permanent sculptures on a breathtaking scale. The most famous of these, the Great Serpent Mound in Ohio, is a staggering 1,300 feet long, its undulating body and coiled tail perfectly captured in the grassy terrain. The precision of its form is matched by its purpose, as its head aligns with the sunset during the summer solstice, while its coils may point to other celestial events. This was no random act of pile building. It was a deliberate, sophisticated project that wove together astronomy, art, and deep spiritual belief. Archaeologists see these sites as multifaceted centers of community life. They served as ceremonial grounds where rituals connected the people to the cycles of nature, as sacred burial sites honoring those who had passed and as powerful territorial markers. The animal shapes are believed to represent clan totems or spiritual guardians, each creature embodying a specific strength or a story from creation myths. The engineering feat alone is astounding. To plan and execute such intricate, massive designs over generations without the aid of written language or modern tools speaks to a highly organized society with a shared vision. At places like the Effigy Mounds National Monument in Iowa, where bears and birds are frozen in the earth, we can imagine these spaces being used for seasonal festivals, a way to honor the spirits of nature and commemorate ancestors. The full cultural context, the specific songs and stories told at these mounds, has been lost to time, yet their silent forms continue to speak volumes about a world view where humanity was not separate from nature, but an integral part of it. What does the choice of a bear or an eagle reveal about the people who built them? It suggests a relationship of deep respect and observation where the qualities of these animals, their strength, their freedom, were qualities to be revered and perhaps invoked. How did they plan these sprawling designs, ensuring a bear's proportions remained perfect over centuries? It points to a profound intergenerational knowledge, a sacred blueprint passed down and faithfully executed. This remarkable tradition of reshaping the land into meaningful forms finds a parallel in a different part of the world, where entire hillsides were carved into step-like patterns for both practical and spiritual purposes. The Pisco Valley presents a puzzle of a different kind, one not of lines or figures but of pure, stark repetition. Across the dry mountain slopes, a sprawling band of thousands of shallow pits marches relentlessly for nearly a mile. Known as the Band of Holes, this vast array of depressions is laid out in unnervingly precise rows and clusters, a dotted line etched into the earth by an unknown hand, its full design only comprehensible from the sky. Each hole is roughly 3 feet across and dug directly into the soil, a testament to an immense, coordinated effort whose purpose has completely vanished from memory. Dating to an uncertain era, likely long before the Inca, this site defies easy categorization. Were these simple graves, though no remains have ever been found within them? Could they have been storage pits for grain or other goods? A theory challenged by the region's aridity and the pit's exposure. Some researchers, like archaeologist Charles Stanish, have proposed they functioned as part of a complex system for collecting precious water from mountain mists, or perhaps as a massive astronomical grid for tracking celestial cycles. The sheer uniformity and scale of the project point to a highly organized society capable of mobilizing labor for a grand communal vision. Yet the absence of any artifacts, any tools or offerings left behind, deepens the mystery to its core. Why would a people invest such tremendous effort into a project that appears to leave no tangible trace of its use? Local folklore sometimes speaks of otherworldly beings or ancient rituals, stories that reflect the site's profound strangeness but offer little historical clarity. The Band of Holes stands as a silent lesson in the limits of our understanding. It reminds us that ancient logic does not always align with modern expectations, and that some monuments were built not for a purpose we can easily name, but for a reason that was deeply, vitally important to the people who shaped this land. This enigmatic pattern of voids leads us to consider a site defined by its opposite, where the earth is shaped into immense, solid rings and keyholes. From the scattered pits of Peru, we journey to the manicured landscapes of ancient Japan, where the earth itself was sculpted into symbols of ultimate authority. Across the Japanese archipelago, massive, keyhole-shaped mounds rise from the soil, silent sentinels of a bygone era of emperors and powerful clan leaders. These are the Kofun, colossal tombs constructed between the 3rd and 7th centuries of the Common Era. The most immense of them all, the Dazenryo Kofun in Osaka, stretches for over 400 meters, a scale that rivals the largest Egyptian pyramids. Its distinctive form, a perfect circle joined to a trapezoidal front, creates an unmistakable keyhole silhouette, a shape repeated across the country in a grand aerial pattern. Each Kofun was often encircled by one or even two moats, transforming these burial sites into isolated islands of the sacred, accessible only by boat or bridge. From the ground, one might see only a large forested hill, but from above, the true geometry is revealed, a planned landscape of power where clusters of these keyholes seem to converse with one another across the centuries. Why was this specific, complex shape chosen for the final resting places of the elite? Historians suggest it may have served as a spiritual gateway, a symbolic passage for the soul's journey into the afterlife. Alternatively, the form could be a stylized representation of the clay Haniwa figures that were arranged on the mounds themselves, abstracting a human form into an architectural monument on a breathtaking scale. The construction was a monumental undertaking, demanding the movement of immense volumes of earth and stone. This feat points to a highly stratified society with the organizational power to command vast labor forces, signaling the emergence of a centralized state in Japan. The Kofun were more than just tombs, they were bold declarations of political and religious authority, permanently etching a family's prestige into the very land. Yet, the exact rituals performed here remain just beyond our grasp. The intricate Haniwa figures placed around the mounds offer tantalizing clues. These clay sculptures depicted warriors, servants, animals, and houses, seemingly creating a spirit world for the departed, but the full script of the ceremonies has been lost. Alignments with celestial bodies add another layer of meaning. The Goshikizuka Kofun, for instance, is oriented toward the rising sun, a likely nod to sun worship prevalent in early Japanese mythology. Was the keyhole shape itself a representation of a celestial phenomenon or a sacred symbol imported from the Asian continent? This blend of indigenous belief and continental influence hints at a period of profound cultural exchange and state formation. What can these grand earthworks tell us about the people who built them? They speak of a society deeply concerned with legacy, hierarchy, and the connection between the earthly ruler and the divine. The Kofun are a permanent reminder that power in ancient Japan was something you could literally see from the sky. This ancient reshaping of the landscape for both ceremony and sustenance finds a remarkable parallel in a completely different part of the world, where the land was carved not for the dead but for the living. Deep within the emerald expanse of the Amazon rainforest, a hidden geometry has been emerging from the shadows. For centuries, this vast landscape was viewed as a pristine wilderness, largely untouched by complex human societies, but modern deforestation and aerial surveys have shattered that myth. They have revealed hundreds of immense earthworks carved into the soil, a network of geometric shapes that has lain concealed beneath the canopy for 2 millennia. Across regions like Acre in Brazil, pre-Columbian peoples sculpted the land into perfect circles, precise squares, and even octagons, creating patterns that only reveal their true, magnificent forms from above. These geoglyphs were not built up with stone but were dug from the earth, formed by deep ditches and the embankments created from the excavated soil. The scale and precision of these enclosures suggest something far more than simple villages. They point to a sophisticated society with a profound understanding of its environment. Archaeologists like Denise Shawn argue that these structures are evidence of large, complex populations who extensively modified the Amazon, challenging our very idea of what this landscape was like before European contact. They possessed an advanced knowledge of ecology and engineering, shaping the world around them in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. What was the purpose of these vast clearings? The debate is rich with possibilities. Some researchers see them as ceremonial centers, sacred plazas where communities gathered for rituals that connected them to the spirit world. Others propose they served as defensive structures, their deep ditches acting as barriers, or as sophisticated systems for managing water and agriculture in a challenging tropical climate. A fascinating clue lies in their alignment with the heavens, as some of these geometric forms are oriented toward the solstice sun, hinting at a deep cosmological significance woven into their design. Yet the people who built them remain enigmatic. The Geoglyph complex, with its multiple, interconnected enclosures, feels designed to host large communal gatherings, but the sites themselves yield very few artifacts. This scarcity of everyday objects makes it incredibly difficult to reconstruct the daily lives of the builders, or to understand why these impressive sites were eventually abandoned. How did these ancient Amazonians achieve such flawless geometric precision without modern tools? And what does their existence tell us about the history of human settlement in the world's largest rainforest? It reveals a story not of a virgin wilderness, but of a landscape deeply and intelligently managed by its inhabitants, a lost chapter of human innovation written in the earth itself. This same fusion of art, astronomy, and deep cultural belief finds a stunning expression in a far more arid landscape, where the Earth was shaped not into enclosures, but into a colossal, radiant star. The vast, arid plains of South Australia hold a secret of a different kind, a modern mystery etched into the red earth. In 1998, a pilot flying over the desolate landscape spotted the colossal figure of a man, a giant Aboriginal hunter standing 4.2 kilometers tall. Known as the Maori Man, this geoglyph is one of the largest human figures ever drawn on the planet. Yet, unlike the ancient patterns we have explored, this one is a contemporary creation, likely made just years before its discovery using modern technology like GPS and bulldozers. This fact only deepens the puzzle. Who would orchestrate such a massive, clandestine project in one of the most remote places on Earth, and for what possible reason? The figure is depicted holding a throwing stick, a traditional hunting tool which has sparked intense debate about its cultural meaning. Some theories propose it was an elaborate art project, a massive survey marker, or even a tribute to indigenous culture and land rights. However, no individual or group has ever stepped forward to claim responsibility, and local Aboriginal communities have expressed complex feelings about a figure created on their ancestral lands without their consultation. The technical precision involved is itself astounding. To carve such a perfect, enduring form in secret required significant resources and planning, pointing to a well-funded and organized effort. Why go to all that trouble only to remain completely anonymous? The mystery is amplified by the lack of any clear evidence left behind. Was it a statement about the land, a navigational guide for the sky, or simply a prank on a monumental scale? The Maori Man stands as a powerful reminder that the human urge to leave a giant mark on the world, to be seen from above, is not confined to the ancient past. It is a living impulse, one that continues to manifest in ways that challenge and confuse us. This modern enigma brings us back to a far older pattern, one that resembles a giant labyrinth waiting to be walked. The stone circles of Senegambia rise from the earth in silent, perfect rings. Across the borderlands of Senegal and Gambia, these ancient formations of laterite pillars stand as a testament to a sophisticated society that flourished from the 3rd century before the Common Era to the 16th century Common Era. Built by peoples whose identities are now part of the rich tapestry of West African history, possibly ancestral to the Sura and other groups. These circles transform the landscape into a geometric wonder when viewed from above. Sites like Washu and Kerbach reveal clusters of these rings, some containing the final resting places of individuals accompanied by artifacts of their daily lives, iron tools, pottery, and personal ornaments. This points to a profound ceremonial purpose, a space where communities honored their ancestors and perhaps sought their guidance. The precision of the circles is staggering. Each pillar, carefully shaped and erected, forms a ring of such uniformity it speaks to a shared cultural blueprint held across centuries. Some of these stones weigh several tons, their placement a monumental feat of collective labor and engineering knowledge that challenges any simplistic view of early African societies. Why were these specific locations chosen, and what do the variations in their size and layout tell us? The Sign and Gain complex, with its 52 circles and over 1,000 individual stones, suggests a deep, possibly numerical significance that has been lost to the ages. Archaeologists see more than just memorials. The circles may have been precisely aligned with celestial bodies, functioning as giant calendars that marked the solstices or the arrival of seasonal rains, information vital for agricultural survival. They could also have been the social heart of the community, places where people gathered for ceremonies, to resolve disputes, or to forge collective decisions under the watchful presence of their forebears. The unresolved mystery lies in the details. Why is this region so densely populated with these circles compared to surrounding areas? How do these stone arrangements connect to the oral histories preserved by local peoples today? The circles stand as a powerful reminder of the complex spiritual and social structures that defined West African civilizations, their legacy written not on parchment but in enduring stone. They invite comparison to stone circles found in other parts of the world, yet their unique character and concentration tell a story all their own. This human desire to map the cosmos and our place within it onto the land finds a different, more fluid expression in our next site, where the earth itself is carved into a giant, swirling labyrinth. Galloping across the rolling green hills of Oxfordshire, a creature of pure white chalk defies time itself. The Uffington White Horse, a stylized figure 110 meters long, was carved into the hillside over 3,000 years ago during the Late Bronze Age. Its creators cut deep trenches into the slope, exposing the brilliant white chalk beneath the turf, a technique that ensured their work would endure. This is not a detailed portrait of a horse, but something far more abstract and dynamic. Its body is an elongated, flowing form, with a beak-like head and disjointed legs that seem to capture the essence of motion rather than its literal anatomy. This unique design sets it apart from all other British hill figures, a signature of an ancient artistic vision we can no longer fully decipher. Why did the local tribes invest such immense effort in this single, colossal symbol? Archaeologists like Richard Bradley propose it served as a powerful tribal emblem, a statement of identity visible for miles across the landscape. Its placement below the ramparts of Uffington Castle, an Iron Age hill fort, suggests it was meant to be seen by the community gathered there, perhaps during seasonal festivals or rituals honoring a horse deity like Epona. Some researchers see a connection to sun worship, as the horse's form aligns with celestial events, potentially marking the passage of the year for an agricultural society. The true wonder, however, lies not just in its creation but in its stubborn persistence. For millennia, local communities have engaged in the ritual of scouring or re-chalking the horse to keep its lines bright and visible. This centuries-long act of maintenance is a mystery in itself. Was it a solemn duty, a festive tradition, or a deep-seated understanding that this symbol was vital to the land's identity? Later folklore tried to claim it, weaving tales of King Alfred's victory or a legendary dragon slain on the spot. But these stories are mere decorations on a far older monument. The Uffington White Horse endures as a cultural icon precisely because it is an irreducible puzzle, a message from the past whose original words are lost, leaving only the powerful, elegant shape of the envelope. This ancient drive to etch giant human forms into the earth did not stop with abstract animals. Another giant emerges from the English countryside, this one carved with a bold and provocative energy. In the lush hills of Dorset, the Cerne Abbas giant stands 55 meters tall, a powerful figure of a naked man cut into the chalk slope, brandishing a massive club. His origins are as shrouded in mystery as the morning mist in the valley below. Some scholars place his creation in the Roman era, suggesting he could be a depiction of the god Hercules. Others argue for an early medieval date, perhaps a political satire of a local abbot or a representation of a legendary folk hero. The giant's most prominent feature has long associated him with rituals of fertility and vitality. For centuries, local customs included maypole dances and celebrations on the hillside, practices that hint at a deep, pre-Christian significance woven into the very soil. The fact that the first written record of him only appears in the 17th century deepens the puzzle immensely. Why would such a colossal and unmistakable figure go unmentioned for so long? His placement near the Cerne Abbey adds another compelling layer. Was the giant a surviving symbol of an older belief system that the new Christian monastery could not erase, leading to a quiet, perhaps even tense, coexistence? The giant's endurance speaks volumes. Generation after generation, the local community has maintained his stark white lines through a ritual of scouring, a clear act of preservation that suggests he was always more than just a curious drawing. He was and remains a vital part of the local identity. Historians debate whether he was a religious icon, a territorial marker for a long-forgotten tribe, or a piece of monumental folk art. What the Cerne Abbas giant truly reveals is the complex, often blurred interplay between ancient pagan traditions and incoming Christian beliefs in England. He is a powerful reminder that landscapes can hold multiple layers of faith, where older symbols were not always destroyed, but sometimes simply persisted, their original meanings softening into folklore. This giant, rooted in concepts of earth and vitality, finds a celestial counterpart in a very different kind of pattern, one that looks not to the land but to the stars. Far to the north, in the isolated Turgay region of Kazakhstan, a different kind of celestial map was drawn into the earth. A colossal star over 400 meters from point to point lies etched into the steppe. This immense geoglyph, often compared to a Star of David for its six-pointed form, was not carved from stone but built from it, its lines defined by carefully arranged mounds and trenches. Discovered only through the modern eye of satellite imagery, it dates to a shadowy period, likely the Iron Age, and stands as a testament to the people who once moved across these vast, empty lands. How did nomadic tribes living a life in motion conceive and construct such a permanent and geometrically perfect symbol? The absence of any nearby settlement only deepens the mystery. This was not a mark of a city, but a signature of belief left upon the open land. Researchers like Gida Matuzevsky suggest its purpose was woven into the very fabric of survival. The star's points align with key solar positions throughout the year, potentially making it a massive calendar for tracking the seasons. For pastoral peoples, knowing when to move their herds to new pastures was a matter of life and death, and this star may have been their way of grounding celestial knowledge into the earth itself. It might also have been a ceremonial stage for rituals of sun worship, a place where the community gathered to honor the forces that governed their world. The precision of its shape reveals a sophisticated understanding of geometry and a shared cultural vocabulary, a language of symbols we can no longer translate. Why this specific six-pointed star? It does not appear to be directly linked to later historical groups in the region, making its origin story uniquely its own. It is part of a larger ritual landscape, a sibling to the immense Ushtagay square and other geometric patterns scattered across the plateau. Together, they form a constellation of earthworks, a network of sacred sites for people who left few other permanent traces. What does this stellar pattern whisper to us across the centuries? It speaks of a spiritual life deeply connected to the sky, where the cycles of the sun were not abstract concepts but divine actors in a daily drama of survival. It challenges our notion of nomads as solely practical people, revealing their capacity for abstract thought, communal art, and a profound desire to build monuments to their beliefs. This giant star, a compass rose for the soul, guides our attention to another form of ancient gathering place, one defined not by points, but by perfect, encompassing circles. On the windswept Orkney Isles, a ring of ancient giants stands guard. The Ring of Brodgar, a massive stone circle erected around 2,500 years before the Common Era, is the centerpiece of a vast ceremonial landscape. From above, its geometric perfection is breathtaking, a near-perfect circle of 27 surviving monoliths set within a deep, circular ditch. Originally, there may have been 60 stones, a number that sparks endless curiosity. This was no isolated monument. It is part of a complex network that includes the nearby stones of Stenness and the Misho tomb, a chambered mound aligned with the winter solstice sunset. The ring's placement is profoundly symbolic, situated on a narrow strip of land between two lochs, a location that may have represented a boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the spirits. What ceremonies took place within this sacred space? Archaeologists believe this was a stage for seasonal festivals marking the turning of the year, a place where farming communities gathered to celebrate the harvest or plead for the sun's return. The alignments of the stones with the solstices reveal a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, a cosmic clock built into the earth. How did these early people, with only simple tools, achieve such precise engineering? The transportation and erection of these colossal stones was a monumental act of collective will, a project that would have required the entire community's cooperation over generations. The specific rituals are lost to us, but the enduring power of the place is not. It speaks of a society that invested its deepest beliefs into the land, creating a communal space that anchored their identity to the cycles of the cosmos. Why 27 stones remain, and what the original 60 signified, are questions that hover in the salt-laden air. The Ring of Brodgar is a testament to the human need to create order and meaning, to build monuments that outlast individual lives and whisper of a shared spiritual vision. This ancient impulse to shape the land into symbolic forms finds a different, more fluid expression in our next site, where the earth itself was coiled into the form of a cosmic serpent. The Great Serpent Mound uncoils across an Ohio River valley, a sinuous earthwork of breathtaking scale and artistry. Constructed by the Fort Ancient Culture around 1070 Common Era, this massive effigy stretches for 1,300 feet, its body formed from carefully layered soil and clay. The serpent's form is both dynamic and symbolic, with a tightly coiled tail and a gaping mouth that appears to be swallowing a large, oval-shaped object. This central feature is often interpreted as an egg, a symbol of cosmic creation, or perhaps the sun itself, representing a powerful celestial event like an eclipse. The entire structure feels like a story frozen in the earth, a narrative of life, death, and renewal. Archaeologists like William Romaine have documented precise alignments between the serpent's head and the setting sun during the summer solstice, while its coils may correspond to lunar standstills. This suggests the mound functioned as a sophisticated astronomical calendar, a giant stone-less clock that marked the passage of seasons vital to an agricultural society. But its purpose was likely far richer than mere timekeeping. It was probably a sacred stage for ceremonies tied to fertility and the vital cycles of the natural world, a place where the community sought harmony with the forces that governed their existence. The profound mystery lies in the silence of its creators. The fort ancient people left no written records, and this specific, monumental serpent design stands almost alone in North America. Why choose this particular creature? The serpent is a nearly universal symbol, often representing transformation, water, and the underworld. Its undulating form mirrored the nearby river, a life-giving force, while its connection to the earth made it a potent bridge between realms. Nearby burial mounds and artifacts found in the area hint at a society with complex spiritual beliefs, but they do not provide the key to the serpent's specific myth. Was it a creator deity, a destructive force, or a guardian of the land? The alignment with the solstice sun strongly suggests a veneration of solar power, but the full spiritual meaning remains a captivating puzzle. What this giant earthwork reveals is a profound cosmological understanding, a worldview where the earth and sky were intimately linked. The builders saw their landscape not as inert, but as a living canvas upon which they could inscribe their deepest beliefs about the universe's order. This magnificent fusion of animal form and celestial knowledge finds a different, more hybrid expression in a remote desert, where the lines between human and creature beautifully blur. Carved into a sandy hillside overlooking the Pacific, the Paracas candelabra stands as a monumental question mark facing the sea. This massive geoglyph, stretching 600 feet from its base to its top, resembles a giant, three-pronged fork or perhaps a stylized, branching plant. Created by the Paracas culture around 200 years before the Common Era, its form was dug deep into the earth, with trenches that were then lined with stones to withstand the relentless coastal winds. Its sheer size and prominent location on the peninsula make it visible for miles out to sea, leading many to believe it served as a crucial navigational beacon for ancient mariners, a permanent landmark guiding their vessels along the Peruvian coast. Yet, its significance likely ran far deeper than a simple sailor's guide. The design is often linked to the creator god Viracocha, a central figure in Andean mythology, suggesting the candelabra was a sacred symbol, a declaration of faith etched into the landscape. Its alignment with the distant Nazca Lines hints at a shared cosmological system, a map of belief that stretched across the desert. The proximity to extensive Paracas burial sites adds another profound layer, implying a connection to ceremonial practices surrounding the journey after life. Why has this single symbol endured where others might have been erased by the wind? Its remarkable preservation suggests it was actively maintained, a sacred duty passed down through generations of the Paracas people, who were master weavers and skilled seafarers. Some researchers have proposed a more speculative theory that the candelabra represents a powerful hallucinogenic plant used by spiritual leaders to bridge the human and spirit worlds. While this idea is intriguing, it remains a theory without strong archaeological support. The true resonance of the candelabra lies in its fusion of the practical and the divine. It stands at the boundary between land and sea, a marker for human travelers and perhaps a gateway for the soul, reflecting a culture whose identity was intimately tied to the ocean's horizon and the cosmos above. This giant coastal symbol points inward, guiding our exploration to a very different kind of pattern, where the Earth is marked not by a single emblem, but by a constellation of perfect circles. Across the sweeping Mongolian steppe, ancient stone sentinels stand watch over an endless sea of grass. These are the deer stones, tall monoliths intricately carved with elegant, leaping stags, their antlers flowing into elaborate spirals across the granite surface. Dating back over 3,000 years to the Bronze Age, these remarkable pillars are often found at the heart of circular stone arrangements known as kirigsua, creating patterns of profound geometric intent that only reveal their full, organized layout from an aerial perspective. For the nomadic cultures that built them, this was a landscape imbued with sacred meaning. The stylized deer, sometimes depicted with beak-like heads as if in flight, are far more than simple animal carvings. Researchers like Dr. William Honeychurch suggest they likely served as spiritual guides, shepherding the souls of the departed to the afterlife, or as powerful clan totems representing the community's identity and connection to the natural world. These sites were likely multifunctional centers of nomadic life, acting as ceremonial grounds for rituals of sky worship, as social gathering points for scattered clans, and as memorials marking the final resting places of important individuals. The sophistication of these builders is etched into the very alignments of the stones. Many of these formations are precisely oriented to celestial events, functioning as a massive, open-air calendar that tracked the sun and moon. For a pastoral people whose survival depended on knowing when to move their herds, this astronomical knowledge was woven directly into their sacred architecture. The carvings themselves hold further clues, often featuring sun disks, belts, and weapons like daggers and axes, hinting at a society where warrior status was deeply intertwined with cosmological beliefs. Why do the deer stones vary so dramatically from region to region? And what specific stories did the different arrangements of the surrounding kirigsua circles tell? Without written records, the full narrative is lost, leaving us with powerful, silent symbols of a mobile culture that invested immense effort into creating permanent marks upon the land. These patterns reveal a nomadic society with a complex spiritual and social organization, one that challenges the idea of simple wanderers and instead points to a people deeply connected to the heavens, the earth, and the journey of the spirit. This exploration of ancient nomadic monuments, where stone circles guide both the living and the dead, brings us to a site where the earth itself is shaped into a giant labyrinth, evoking a profound journey of the soul. The labyrinth is an ancient symbol that transcends the walls of any single cathedral. Scattered across the English countryside, turf mazes like the one at Hilton reveal the same intricate spiral pattern, but carved directly into the living earth. These living earthworks, formed by cutting pathways into the grass to expose the soil beneath, create a winding, circular journey that can only be fully appreciated from above. Dating to prehistoric or medieval times, their purpose was deeply spiritual. For common folk who could not undertake a perilous pilgrimage to distant holy lands, walking these labyrinthine paths became a powerful substitute, a symbolic journey to Jerusalem undertaken with one's own feet. Each turn and reversal was a form of moving meditation, a physical enactment of the soul's difficult path toward enlightenment or a ritual of protection. Historians note that many of these sites likely held significance long before Christianity arrived, their primal spiral form later adapted into a new religious context. Their enduring presence in local folklore hints at these deep pre-Christian roots, though the specific ceremonies and chants that once accompanied the walk are lost to us. Why does this exact motif of the single, winding path appear with such consistency across eras and cultures? The mystery is not in their design, but in their use. We can envision communal gatherings where these green circuits served as stages for seasonal dances, perhaps during May Day celebrations like those associated with the Alkborough turf maze, or for quiet rites of healing and reflection. They were not puzzles to be solved, but journeys to be experienced. What do these ancient labyrinths ultimately reveal? They speak to a universal human theme, the inner quest for meaning and transformation. The path is never straight, it twists and turns, yet it always eventually leads to a center. This captivating symbol of a guided journey through life's complexities finds a stark contrast in our next pattern, which functions not as a path for the soul, but as a giant clock for the sun. Perched on a ridge in the Peruvian coastal desert, 13 stone towers stand in a precise, undulating line. This is Chanquillo, the oldest known solar observatory in the Americas, a sophisticated calendar carved in stone by the Kazakh people over 2,300 years ago. From a specific viewing platform, an observer could watch the sun rise, its position shifting from tower to tower throughout the year, marking the solstices at either end of the line and the equinoxes at the center. It was a complete astronomical device, a way to pin the abstract passage of time to the solid, predictable rhythm of the horizon. Archaeologist Ivan Gezi's research confirmed this function, revealing a society with a remarkably advanced grasp of celestial mechanics, their survival and rituals governed by the sun's reliable journey. But the story does not end with the towers. Scattered across the surrounding desert are geoglyphs, immense lines and figures of animals and geometric shapes that can only be seen from above. These earth drawings are believed to be part of the same sacred complex, a larger ritual landscape. Some of these lines point directly toward the towers, while others align with the sunrise on specific, significant dates, creating an integrated system where architecture, art, and astronomy were one. Why did the Kazakh culture need such a vast and precise calendar? It likely dictated the timing of planting, harvests, and religious festivals, weaving the cosmic into the fabric of daily life. The geoglyphs may have served as territorial markers for this early civilization, or as ceremonial pathways for processions during these pivotal solar events. The true mystery lies in the silence of their creators. Without written records, we can only speculate about the specific ceremonies performed here. What stories were told about the animal figures etched into the earth? What did the Kazakh people believe happened when the sun reached its farthest point? And how did these ground drawings play a role in that cosmic drama? Chanquillo fundamentally reshapes our understanding of pre-Columbian science. It reveals that complex astronomical observation was not a later development of empires like the Inca, but a much older, deeply rooted tradition. The geoglyphs add a vital human dimension to this scientific achievement, showing that for the Kazakh, tracking the sun was not a cold calculation, but a spiritual act, a dialogue with the gods written across the land and the sky. This fusion of meticulous science and earthly artistry finds a more enigmatic expression just a few hundred miles to the south, where the desert floor was transformed into a giant spider, its web of meaning still waiting to be untangled. Among the sprawling lines and geometric shapes of the Nazca Plateau, a colossal spider waits, its 150-foot form permanently etched into the desert floor. This intricate geoglyph, crafted with the same meticulous technique of removing dark stones to expose the lighter earth beneath, is more than just an image, it is a profound statement. For the Nazca people living in one of the driest places on Earth, the spider likely held deep symbolic power. Researchers like Maria Reich, who devoted her life to these desert drawings, proposed that the spider was a potent symbol for water and fertility, its legs perhaps representing life giving rain or underground springs. In a landscape where water was everything, this arachnid could have been a deity, a celestial marker, or a central figure in creation myths. The precision of its form is staggering. Each leg is rendered with anatomical accuracy, and the entire figure aligns with specific celestial points, suggesting its creators possessed a sophisticated understanding of both biology and astronomy. How did they achieve such flawless proportions without ever seeing their work from above? The methods remain a subject of awe, pointing to the use of scaled models and an advanced knowledge of geometry. Some theories connect the spider to the constellation of Orion, a prominent feature in the night sky, while others see a representation of a local, rain-inducing spider species. Yet, without deciphered Nazca writing, these ideas remain educated guesses. The true mystery lies in its ceremonial use. Was the spider a focal point for rituals where priests walked its lines, calling upon the gods for rain? Did it serve as a giant astronomical calendar, its body marking the arrival of the seasonal rains essential for survival? This geoglyph reveals a culture that saw the cosmos reflected in the creatures of the earth, weaving a complex web of meaning between the land, the sky, and their own survival. Its enduring presence challenges us to understand a world where art, science, and spirituality were inseparable. From this earthly arachnid, our gaze lifts to another Nazca wonder, a giant condor forever captured in mid-soar. Soaring above the Nazca Desert, a giant condor spreads its wings across 400 feet of arid plain. This immense geoglyph, another masterpiece of the Nazca culture, captures the sacred bird in perfect dynamic form, its distinctive head and powerful wingspan etched with the same stunning precision as the spider and the monkey. In Andean cosmology, the condor was far more than a bird. It represented the upper world, a powerful messenger believed to carry human prayers to the mountain gods and to guide spirits into the afterlife. Its colossal presence here suggests it was a central figure in ceremonies, a symbol of divine power invoked to protect the community and to mediate between the earthly realm and the celestial one. Archaeologists note that the condor's alignment is not arbitrary. Its long beak points directly toward the distant Andes, the source of all life giving water in this parched landscape. This orientation could mark it as a spiritual beacon for pilgrimage routes, or perhaps it functioned as a vast astronomical marker, its form framing the rising sun on specific sacred dates. The mystery deepens when we see its placement relative to other geoglyphs. It is part of a carefully composed aerial gallery. What story was being told by the proximity of the condor to a monkey or a spiral? Were these separate chapters in a single mythic narrative, or stages in a ceremonial procession that unfolded across the desert floor? The specific rituals, the chants and offerings made in its shadow are lost to us. Why did the Nazca choose this particular bird for such a monumental display? It speaks to a value system that revered the condor's power, its freedom, and its perceived role as a cosmic guardian. This avian giant, forever frozen in flight, points us toward a more intimate and enigmatic pattern, where the earth is marked not by animals but by giant human hands. Scattered among the desert's giant animals and geometric forms, another kind of Nazca signature reaches out from the earth. The hand geoglyphs are immense outlines of human hands, some with fingers spread wide, others appearing more stylized, each one dozens of feet across and carved with the same precision as the famous spider and condor. Created during the cultural peak of the Nazca society, these hands feel like a direct personal statement amid the grand celestial and animal symbolism. While the giant condor spoke to the heavens, these hands seem to ground the artwork in humanity itself. Researchers interpret them as powerful symbols of human presence, perhaps representing an offering from a specific clan or a community's collective signature stamped upon the land. The open-palmed gesture could be one of supplication, a permanent ritual gesture aimed at communicating with the gods for that most precious resource in the desert, rain and fertility. The variation in their design adds a layer of deep complexity. Some hands stand completely alone, while others are positioned in close relationship with animal figures or near the ends of the vast trapezoidal clearings. This placement suggests they were integrated into a broader ceremonial choreography. Were they the starting points for processions or the final destination of a ritual walk? Experts like Dr. Donald Proulx have proposed a connection to shamanic practices, where the hand's imprint symbolized a bridge to the spiritual world, a way for a community leader to channel divine power. The mystery intensifies when we find a hand glyph situated near a spiral. Does this combination map a celestial movement or represent a ritual dance where a participant spiraled inward, finally placing their hand as an act of communion with the earth? Without any deciphered Nazca writing, these captivating ideas remain thoughtful hypotheses. What these ancient handprints ultimately reveal is a poignant glimpse into individual and collective identity. They transform the vast, impersonal earthworks into something intimately human. They are a reminder that behind the colossal scale and the astronomical precision were people, with hands not so different from our own, who sought to leave a permanent mark of their presence, their pleas, and their connection to the forces that govern their world. This human impulse to leave a circular mark upon the land finds a powerful echo in a different hemisphere, where the earth is adorned with giant rings that have endured for millennia. These immense stone rings emerge from the deserts of Jordan, Syria, and Saudi Arabia, their perfect forms dwarfing everything around them. Known simply as the Big Circles, these ancient structures can measure up to 400 meters across, their low stone walls tracing flawless rings on the ground that only reveal their geometric perfection from the air. Dating back thousands of years to a time when societies were first forming, these circles are far older than the empires that would later rise and fall in this region. Their design is strikingly simple and remarkably consistent, a fact that has captivated archaeologists like David Kennedy, who has documented hundreds of them. This uniformity across such vast, empty distances suggests a shared cultural understanding, a common blueprint held by nomadic pastoral groups who moved through these arid lands. Why would these early communities living a life of movement invest such collective effort in building permanent, identical rings in the most remote areas? One prevailing theory is that they served as massive enclosures for livestock, corralling precious herds of goats or sheep in a landscape with few natural boundaries. Yet the sheer scale of some circles seems to exceed any practical need for a pen. This points to a deeper ceremonial purpose. They may have been sacred gathering places where scattered clans came together at specific times of the year for rituals, marriages, or communal decisions under the open sky. Some circles are aligned with burial cairns, hinting at a role in memorial practices, a place to honor those who had passed. Their placement along ancient travel routes also suggests they could have functioned as territorial markers or neutral meeting grounds for trade. The true resonance of these circles, however, lies in their enduring mystery. What specific ceremonies echoed within these stone rings? What stories were told, and what agreements were forged here? The stones offer no answers, only the silent, powerful testament of their form. They speak of a social and spiritual life that was deeply connected to the land and the cycles of movement, a need to create a fixed point of community in a vast and shifting world. This ancient impulse to inscribe the land with radiant, circular energy finds its ultimate expression in our next pattern, where the earth itself was shaped into a giant, blazing sun. High on the arid plains of the Atacama, another celestial body has been grounded. A massive sun geoglyph, its center a perfect circle surrounded by radiating rays, is etched into the desert floor. This powerful symbol, echoing the traditional imagery of Intai, the Andean sun god, was likely the work of pre-Columbian cultures like the Tiwanaku or local groups whose survival was intimately tied to the sky cycles. Carved into the stark landscape, its full, symmetrical form is only truly visible from an elevated vantage point, a deliberate design for a symbol of the ultimate power above. In a world where the sun dictated the success of crops and the arrival of vital water, this geoglyph was far more than art. It was likely a focal point for solar worship, a stage for rituals pleading for warmth and growth in one of the driest places on Earth. Researchers suggest its rays may have been precisely aligned with the sunrise on the solstices or equinoxes, transforming it into a giant, functional calendar that marked the turning of the seasons. This would have provided a cosmic schedule for planting and harvest, weaving astronomical knowledge directly into the fabric of agricultural life. The sun's prominent position along ancient trade routes also suggests it served as a territorial marker, a silent, radiant declaration of a community's presence and their allegiance to a divine force. Why has this specific design endured in such a harsh environment, and how was it maintained across generations? The very act of preservation implies it held a sustained, profound significance, a sacred duty passed down to keep the symbol of life itself clearly defined. The mystery deepens when we see its reflection in other artifacts. The same sun symbol appears on pottery and intricate textiles, indicating this was a core cultural motif, a shared visual language of belief across the Andes. What does this widespread symbol reveal about the diffusion of religious ideas? It shows a common cosmological framework where the sun was not a distant star, but a living deity whose favor meant the difference between life and hardship. This universal human fascination with the sun finds one of its most striking expressions here, a community's deepest hopes made permanent on the earth. This radiant symbol of a celestial body gives way to a pattern that merges the human form with the geometric, creating an enigmatic presence in a remote and lonely landscape.